Whether it's the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, these guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
1, 2, 3, move it.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jacob Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I was about to say our next guest has got to be a big Vanilla Ice fan, but you know what? I realize I'm significantly older than Nick. Yep. Do we have to play that game? Nick Olczyk is with us from the Mammoth broadcast. Nick, we have this thing with Christian, the producer, where we have to explain every pop culture
Christian
reference.
was born in the year 2000.
Yeah, so everything before 2000 we have to explain. Are you a Vanilla Ice fan?
I'm a mint chocolate chip fan, boys.
Okay.
That's my favorite flavor. No, yeah, of course. Okay. Of course, it's a classic song. I will say, full disclosure, every time that I come on the show and I hear Ice Ice Baby playing, I got my head bobbing. So right. I love it. That might be one of my walk-up songs if I was playing in Major League Baseball. So why not?
Suge Knight once dangled him off a building.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, that happened.
That's why Suge Knight's in jail.
Another thing that probably happened before my time.
Yeah, probably. So, Nick, the Mammoth have lost 2 straight now and really just seem to not be able to figure out Chicago. The Minnesota loss, second night of a back-to-back, little injuries, last night of a road trip. I think that's pretty understandable. Chicago back tonight. What is there a specific issue with the Chicago roster that you think the Mammoth struggle with?
Well, they play with a lot of speed. And look, I know the Chicago Blackhawks are where they are in terms of the standings, being a team at the bottom of the Central Division, the same division that the Utah Mammoth are in. But I think that at times during a season, sometimes there is a tendency to, play a little bit lower to where the other team is at. And I think it's human nature. But at this juncture of the season where you're fighting to maintain your playoff position like the Mammoth currently are, there can't be any let-off. So, but again, look, don't give or don't take away any credit from the Blackhawks. Look, the season's gone the way that it has for them. They're still a couple years away from being in the position that the Mammoth are in right now, but they've got some really talented players, like a Frank Nazar, like a Connor Bedard, who was the first overall pick a couple of seasons ago. Tyler Bertuzzi's got more goals than anybody in the high danger areas around the front of the net, where you got to be tough to play. So they've got some good players on the back end. They've got Louis Crevier and Alex Vlasic in their top pair. One guy's 6'6", one guy's 6'8". So trying to generate offense against them, I mean, it's like going up against a redwood tree. I mean, you really got to get them moving. And you really got to try to pull them out of position, because if you make their jobs easy, all they got to do is stand there and they take up a boatload of space. So why has that been the case, guys? I wish I could give you a hockey expert type of answer, but sometimes there's just those teams that have your number. But back here on home ice, a chance at retribution for the last time that these two teams have played one another, not just because as a competitor you want to get one over on the team that's beaten you a couple of times, but considering the implication of needing to get points. And for the Utah Mammoth, 17 games left to get to the 94 or 95 points that I think will secure them a playoff spot. You got to win at least 11 of the last 17, and so no better way to start that stretch than here at home at the Delta Center tonight.
So, Nick, we love having you on because you're very good at explaining hockey to really a couple of basketball guys that cover the NBA closely. And covering the NBA closely, we are very familiar with teams that play down to their opponent. And we're really familiar with what that looks like. We watched the Knicks play the Jazz last night, and, Bryce Sensabaugh hits a bunch of threes in the first half because the Knicks aren't closing out, and they're not fighting through screens and those extra things. So I guess, and I hope this makes sense, when teams play down to their opponents, what does that usually look like?
Well, I think they just try to do too much. Try to pass the puck into the back of the net. Too much one-on-one. And look, I think in basketball, again, I'm not the biggest basketball guy in terms of knowing the ins and outs, but I know that there's a lot of one-on-one play where one guy will kind of take control and everybody else will run picks and all that. In the game of hockey, if one guy tries to go through 2 or 3 or 4 defenders, and by the time he gets to the second or third guy, he's going to end up on his rear. And so I think sometimes when you go up against teams that are so-called less than in terms of the standings or the skill and quality of player that they have on their roster. You try to do too much. You try to beat one guy one-on-one, and then maybe you go back, you circle back and you try to beat him again, or it just becomes a little bit too individualistic. And I think when you look at this Mammoth roster, so much skill. And I think there's been times here where the power play has kind of fallen into that trap as well, where you've got real impactful difference makers that can make highlight reel plays. And you just can't do that all the time. That's not going to be a recipe for success consistently in the National Hockey League. So to me, when I see teams, whether it's the Mammoth or anybody, and you bring up the phrase of playing down to your opponent, it's just you think it's going to be easy. There's some jam and some grind and some hardness that comes out of your game. You still have the effort. You're still out there working, but are you really smart with the puck? If it's one guy on your team going up against two or three on their guys, are you going to try to dangle through them? Are you going to chip it deep and go after it? So it's the puck placement and as well as the details in the game that kind of go out the window, and you try to start looking for the highlight reel play or trying to dipsy doodle your way to the net. And whether you're playing the Blackhawks or whether you're playing the Colorado Avalanche, who's been atop the league since the start, that's not going to happen in the game of hockey. So has it always been that case for the Mammoth against the Blackhawks this season? No. The Mammoth have had really good stretches of play in these games, but as I mentioned earlier, sometimes there's just those teams that over the course of an 82-game season that just kind of have your number, but I think we're all hoping for the reverse effect tonight here in Utah.
In our conversations, Nick, I'm not sure we've talked about any top-line player less than Nick Schmaltz, and he gets the big extension.
Yeah.
Give us a background on Nick, why he is so important to this team and why they were willing to invest, pretty significantly. $8 million a year for 8 years is a lot.
Yeah, and I've actually had it wasn't always a pleasure, but I've known and played against Nick Schmaltz when we were both like 13 to 16, and I say it wasn't always a pleasure with all due respect, because he was on a team that would just absolutely steamroll everybody else. Looking back, there were 3 National Hockey Leaguers that are currently playing in the league, including him, on those teams. But when I think back, he just kind of had that it factor that you knew he was going to be a great player. You knew when most of the other kids playing at that level, when they turned 23, they were going to have to go and get a job, or he was going to continue to keep playing hockey at the highest level. So seeing the growth of his game has really been amazing, from a young teenager playing against him to now being able to watch him on a daily basis at practice, and of course during games, and what he's done. A really well-deserved contract extension. Look, he's a very loved and beloved member in that room. He's been with the likes of Clayton Keller and Lawson Krause for the last 7 years in their prior tour down in Arizona, and he chose and decided to stick with this team, to stick with this hockey operations staff, and the belief that one day everything was going to turn around and they were going to be a competitive team, and that's exactly what the case has been. But this year, I think I've come to appreciate even more about his game is his play away from the puck. And by that, I mean the elite of the elite will have the puck on their stick. I'm talking like Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Nathan McKinnon. Clayton Keller is in that realm as well. But those guys will have the puck on their stick in a 60-minute game from probably 55 total seconds to, I think McDavid's maybe in the 120 or a minute and a half, meaning that the puck is on his blade for a minute and a half throughout the course of the game. 8 seconds here, 2 seconds there, 15 seconds there, whatever the case may be. But to me, considering you play the majority of your shifts without the puck, it's the reads that you make with it, the unbelievable chemistry he has with Captain Clayton Keller, considering they've played together for what seems like forever. It's the back checks he makes, the reads he's able to make. And two, when Logan Cooley went out injured back in middle of December, for 28 games he missed, Nick Schmaltz was trusted to be this team's number one center. And though he had played center in the past, I think he has really opened up a lot of people's eyes to the 200-foot game that he has. And for every goal, which he does have now a career high with 24, he's going to go speeding by his prior career high in points here soon. I think he only needs about 4 more points to set a new career high there. But for every goal, for every assist, for every point, I can find 2 or 3 great defensive plays that he makes, and none bigger or better than that unbelievable back check he made in one of the most dramatic games I've ever seen at the Delta Center against the Philadelphia Flyers a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, it's a big deal. I think it's even more of a morale boost for the guys in that room because one of their really good friends and great players, of course, is going to be around here for the next 8 years and continuing to build. But well deserved. Aside from just the career offensive year that he's having, to me, it has been his commitment to want to play defense and not cheat the game that has allowed him to have such a successful season to this point.
How do you think MacKenzie Weegar has fit so far?
Very solid, very solid. I think, honestly, if you put him on any team, he's a top 4 defenseman. Last year, he led the National Hockey League among all D in outlet passes. And for our newer fans, that's essentially, as a defenseman, you've got the puck in your own zone. It's a successful pass. If you can pass it to your forward, whether it be a winger on the wall or a centerman in the middle, and then they take that puck and exit the zone. So you're putting them in a great spot. You're putting the puck right on their tape, hitting them in stride so they don't have to double back, so it's not a bad pass in their feet. He led all defensemen last year, and when he was acquired this year, he was top 2 in that category. So what a luxury to have as a Mammoth forward, especially considering all the speed and skill that they have, especially in Utah's top 6, to be able to have a defenseman that can facilitate the puck in an accurate and a quick way, allowing you to have more fun playing offense, because offense, well, it's a lot more enjoyable than having to grind it out and defend in your own zone. But there's a certain element of toughness to his game as well. Loose puck recoveries. If there's a 50-50 puck in a corner and MacKenzie Weegar is going after it with another member of the other team, if he's not coming out with it, that being Weegar, the other guy is probably leaving that battle with a bruise or 2 because there is a real rugged style that he plays with. He led all Utah Mammoth players in terms of time on ice in the first game that he played, and I expect him to play a huge role on this team, really in all situations, guys, because he can, yes, of course, he could play 5-on-5, but he can also be on a power play if you need him there. He's going to be trusted to kill penalties at the most important moments and be out there at the end of the game defending a lead. I think it was a wonderful deal. It gives Oli Mata, former Mammoth player, an opportunity to go and get a lot of ice time with the Calgary Flames. You give up 3 second-round draft picks and a prospect to get a guy that is going to instantly come in and has fit like a glove. I thought that was some great business from general manager Bill Armstrong.
We have seen Logan Cooley continue, even against Minnesota now with a big hit. His physicality seems to have really upped, really just in the last 3 games, but overall since he's returned.
I've really seen it all year. I saw it glimpses last season, and I'm very blessed because I have the best seat in the house for Mammoth home games of being between the benches for the TV broadcast. And so I'm up close and personal with a lot of those players and seeing their interactions right there. The one thing I've noticed about Logan Cooley is, yes, he's got unbelievable blinding speed. He's got phenomenal skill to be able to make a guy, make a defender look very silly in a one-on-one scenario. But anytime somebody chirps him or says something, he gives it right back. Anytime a player gives him a little elbow on his way back to the bench when he's changing or gives him a shot in the corner, he gives it right back. Like, there is a real competitiveness to Logan Cooley's game, not just when he's got the puck on his stick, but he is physically engaged, mentally engaged all the time. And that is that's an area of his game that I don't think gets enough credit. Now, you can cross the line, you can become a little bit too focused on the extracurriculars, and then, of course, that can end up taking you out of your game. But I think that's an element that instantly earns him respect, because if you just keep getting pushed around, those kind those kind of words get around the league, and so other teams know that they can get you off your game. But there is a real pushback whenever Logan Cooley is on the ice and in the battle, and so he's had a huge impact since coming back from the injury. And I will also say too, guys, I think this is a lot like anybody in our lives, is that you learn the most about somebody through adversity, not through when times are all good and grand and happy. And so I know that those 28 games missed really weighed on him because he wasn't around the team. He was doing his own thing in terms of therapy and trying to get back, and the rehab and everything he had to go through to get that lower body injury healed. It takes its toll on the mental of a hockey player, because you're just pretty much ripped right out of the routine and schedule that you're so used to on a day-to-day basis. But credit to him, he's come back. He's been the difference maker that this team needs him to be, and he's only 21 years old, and that's the most amazing part for Mammoth fans, and the very scary part for 31 other teams, knowing that this kid is only going to get better.
Just saw a report that Veggie was the first goalie out on the ice this morning, indicating that he will probably play tonight against Chicago. That should probably make a difference, yeah?
Yeah, for sure. And considering he's leading the National Hockey League in wins with 30 this year. Look, last game in Minnesota didn't go the way anybody wanted it to at the end of a long trip, but still knowing that the Mammoth got 7 out of 10 points, I think you'd take a 70% clip for winning games, and anybody would take that. You take that at the start of the trip, but some frustration built up in that game, no doubt. I mean, Veggie, I think it was after the 4th or the 5th goal, turned around and just chopped his stick right on the post, the kind of chop that Paul Bunyan would be really proud of. But look for a big bounce back from him, but most importantly, the guys in front of him. The play, the intensity. I would expect all of that to be there, as it has been, considering the Mammoths have played so well at home ice this year, having the fifth best home record. But yes, we're expecting Karel Vejmelka to play, and look for him to have yet another great performance, considering he is the winningest goaltender in the league this season.
I know you touched on Uyghur, but how do you think he and Sergachev will pair together?
Really good, because I think there's offensive elements to both, but both guys read off of each other really well. And that's usually not something you get right away. I think it's just like you boys working together for the first time, right? You're more comfortable with each other now. You have a better understanding of each other's cadence. And when one guy's a little on edge, then you know just how to poke him and prod him and push the buttons. I really don't think it's any different from a couple of radio co-hosts when you bring in a new guy. And it helps when he's uber talented. It helps when he's been around the block a couple hundred times. But with both those guys having an offensive element, it's not like the opposition can completely game plan of saying, okay, Mikhail Sergachev is a stay-at-home guy, so we don't have to worry about him. We just got to worry about MacKenzie Uyghur. No. Both of these guys can jump into the play. Both of these guys can activate from the blue line and keep plays alive. So I think that they are a very dangerous pair, because they've got some size and are more than apt and willing to activate from the blue line and try to be an offensive threat. Which these days, if your D aren't involved in the offense, your offensive game is severely lacking.
Nick, we appreciate you and your willingness to come on the show. Thanks, buddy.
Boys, you know what? I got to confess something. Can I confess something?
Please do.
Okay. So usually on radio shows that I appear on, I always try and refer to the person that asked me the question by their name. Okay. I cannot for the life of me tell your voices apart. Wow. I can't at all. I don't know if you guys take that as a compliment, not a compliment, but I need to listen more, I guess, or I need to go get a couple of Q-tips, but I'm going to try to continue to work at it and and make sure that when Jake asks me a question that I can refer to Jake, same as Ben. But no, I love coming on with you boys, and hoping for a big 2 points tonight.
Well, Nick, maybe if I talk like this.
You guys sound so similar. I mean, has anybody ever told you that?
Well, one of us asks really good questions, and one of us asks really bad questions, and I'll let you pick who that is.
I'm going to keep my answer to myself on that one.
Thank you, Nick.
Thanks, Nick.
You guys are the best. Have a great day.
See you, pal.
Here's to Nick's, or to let Nick off the hook a little bit. I've never met Nick yet. I have not. I've been to Mammoth games, and we've been in press conferences together, but I've never gone up and introduced myself to Nick. And I think if you were to put a face, even if our voices sound somewhat similar, if you were to put a voice or a face to the voice, you might be able to split it up. Maybe not. I don't think we sound particularly similar. In fact, Nick is the first person to say that to us.
Okay.
But
good times. Gonna have to work on an accent or something.
But go back to when your voice was high pitched for a week or two.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe something.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. We will have more coming up next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.